Hello, my name is ShawnAnn Hope. I go by ShawnAnn. I was raised in Astoria, Oregon, and I have 7 brothers and sisters. They are Mike, Pat, Peggy, Sally, Sean, Mary, Molly, Hillary. And we all attended Star of the Sea until it closed the high school in 1969, and we all transferred over to the public schools. In the 8th grade graduation, I graduated in 1966. We were able to use John F. Kennedy's inaugural speech, and we all took parts as what to say, and sometimes there was group, but it was really kind of cool to use John F. Kennedy's inaugural speech because he was Catholic, and that was a big deal when he became president because he was a Catholic, and so are all of us. So my grandfather, his name was James Leo Hope Sr. He graduated from law school at Notre Dame, and he had a friend that went to school that moved out to Bend, Oregon, who asked him to come over here. So my grandfather came with his friend, and he decided he wanted to move to Portland. And then he worked almost like taking shorthand for judges. Finally, someone came to him and said, we need a Catholic city attorney down in Astoria, and we're wondering if you'd be interested in the job. Well, at that time, the Ku Klux Klan were here, and they didn't really care for Catholics, okay? So they did warn my grandfather when he came here, the Ku Klux Klan was here, and did he want to really deal with that? And yeah, he would. And so he came here in about 1913 after he graduated from Notre Dame Law School. And he set up his family in the Specs Art building, and that's where his business was too. Eventually they moved up to a house on Jerome, 13th and Jerome. He had 5 children, and I remember going to his office in the same building that's still there, and I would look at all those law books, and wow, I'd sit in his chair and it kind of moved around, and I was just amazed at all these books. Anyways, he was the city attorney for approximately 38 years. I know at one time when the bridge was being built, he went back to see the President of the United States. He took a train to get money for the bridge. So my grandfather, Hope, decided to run for state senator after all these years of being a city attorney. And he ran, and I don't remember the man he ran against, but he didn't get it. And one of the reasons he believes that he didn't get state senator because of the Ku Klux Klan. The story that I was told was my grandfather in Norway, in Kristiansand, he had a place where he made shoes. He was a shoemaker, and he made shoes actually for the prince and king of Norway. And he would send him the shoes from Kristiansand down to Oslo. Anyways, his brother had a business, and he had borrowed some money from my great-grandfather. Well, his business went down. They came after my great-grandfather to pay for it, and my grandfather was like, nope. He took all 7 kids, and he had 2 more when he got here, and he came to Tacoma, Washington, of all places. I'm not sure why. He eventually heard about the fishing in Astoria, and then they moved to Astoria, and they lived out in, I call it Norwegian land. It was Alderbrook, and that's where they lived, and that's where most of the Norwegians, did live. One of their houses fell into the boat. He was a fisherman, he had a nice big boat. Another house they had burned down. So I found where they were located, but there were no houses there. My grandfather, Roman, he had his own real estate agency down in Astoria, next door to where Chris's News used to be. The building is there, and he decided to enhance it by just picking up more different areas. So he picked up many, many places, land and houses in Clatsop County, Astoria, and in Cannon Beach, he decided, Tolovana Park actually is where he started his business in that South County. So he ran his business out of, we call it the cottage. Anyways, he died in 1948, and my grandmother, Roman, still had the cabin, actually cottage, and so it was a home for us to go down and play in. And there were 7 lots, and there was a trail from the cabin, the cottage, down to Cannon Beach. But it was a place to play. It had a place for swinging. It had a place for baking. It had a little a well wisher with a little hood over it, and we throw pennies into it. And my grandmother was just totally into flowers, and the whole place was full of flowers everywhere. And it was a really, really good place where we'd go every summer. Sometimes we'd spend the night down there. There were only 2 bedrooms, and we would have fun. It was the cottage. Me and my brothers and sisters got on the last ferry. I believe it was 1966. This is the last ferry for the public. So when the ferry docked, there were these pieces of wood that they docked along. And I went ahead and I grabbed a couple pieces of wood from it, and I put it inside of my scrapbook alongside with the ticket that I'd used. So one time, me and my girlfriend, Judy Ward, got on the ferry, and we went across, and we thought, you know what, there's got to be something that we can visit, like a city. Okay, I had my little sister's bike. We went onto the highway, and we started to head towards Chinook and the tunnel. And we were riding and riding and riding. It took us forever to get to it. And when we got to the tunnel, the ferry was coming back, and oh no, we started rushing on the bike to go. I was on the seat, she was on the front, and we got a flat tire. So we had to push the bike to the ferry, and when we got there, it was the wrong ferry. So, pretty funny. Thanks for, putting this together. Wow.